From the shadows of Cobra's newest division comes something unholy, the Cobra Ghost Vipers. And on today's Spotlight, we're exploring every form and every terrifying display possibility that this figure brings to the G.I. Joe classified line. Cobra's newest nightmare comes to life only on heroic nonsense. Let's go. From the moment I heard that there were going to be a new set of Vipers called Ghost Vipers, I was already hooked. And after seeing them with those painted on skulls over their helmets, I knew these Vipers were destined to become one of my favorites to date. Today's Spotlight of the Cobra Ghost Vipers will bring these dark soldiers of Cobra to life in unique and creative ways that you won't see anywhere else. Plus, we'll take a look at each and every way you can display these figures in all their alternate forms, and how every new configuration changes the look, feel, and role of these figures. Whether you're building a stealth unit of Vipers, want to delve deeper into the mystical force of Cobra, or just looking for new ways to pose and display your classified figures, this Spotlight has you covered. Come with me as we join the hunt from the shadows with the Cobra Ghost Vipers. If I had more room, I'd honestly get a platoon of these guys. For now, however, 2 will have to do, but man do they pack a punch. I absolutely love these guys, from the new nightmarish lore they bring to the classified line, to the versatility, to the incredible design based off of the original Vipers, one of my favorite G.I. Joe figures and characters of all time. These guys have it all. They come with a ton of accessories, including 2 pets, 4 alternate heads, and endless ways to create probably the most unique displays for the classified line to date. I honestly can't think of a classified set that has this much to offer in such a varied way. You're essentially getting 3 types of figures and characters in one. If the immediate Punisher-esque impression these guys give off doesn't get you right away, then make sure you watch until the end, as I truly think these figures have something for everyone. So let's start with the most military-inspired version of the Ghost Vipers, which is my absolute favorite of the variations. The highlight being the skull that is painted over the visor of the standard Viper helmet. They unfortunately don't come with the standard issue backpack the other Vipers come with, but they still look great with the containment pack included in the set. I really like the darker tones to this Viper, gray and red being the main mix of colors. The only color design that could have been even better would have been black and red, but I'm sure we'll get that down the road. While there are a number of different pieces of equipment, weapons, and gear that the Ghost Viper comes with, specialized to the Ghost Viper's MO, the part that stands out for me the most is the helmet. It's as if the Punisher joined the Range Viper ranks, and this is what crawled out from the barracks. They even added some paint applications to the top molded in design of the Viper helmet, which just adds that nice extra bit of detail that goes a long way in making this a more premium type figure. You also have this great looking glowing light backpack which contains the D.I.R.E gas and which can hold the projector weapon when not being used. But I'd say in the end, the figure is more than the sum of its parts because there's just something about these guys that totally draws you in. And when I say these guys come with the possibility of countless display ideas, I'm not kidding. Just look at the range of accessories that are included with this figure, from multiple pets to an array of weapons to eerie hypnosis-induced apparition add-ons. There are so many, I even forgot to include the second head sculpt that the dire wolf comes with. And speaking of dire wolves, the word dire in this case stands for dread-inducing responsive energy, which is the weaponized projection tech that these guys specialize in. Once they're transformed, at least from the perspective of any Joe unlucky enough to cross paths with these terrors, they truly are awe, or should I say nightmare-inspiring. There are basically 2 spectral head manifestations that you can use on these figures, the first being that of a snake. Flared, fanged, and hissing, just like the Cobra symbol it's inspired by. Incredibly well designed and definitely terror-inducing. And the werewolf spectral head that fits perfectly with the spectral wolf arms that you can use to replace the hands with. And I'm not sure which one is truly more terrifying, since the wolf head has even longer and sharper fangs and a truly evil look. Somewhere in between these 2 forms lies a third, which I like to think of as the intermediary between the 2 others. It's this version of the Viper that I could see wielding the D.I.R.E containment pack and projector weapon, his head fully encased in a cybernetic looking helmet. I'm not sure why they felt they needed 2 different helmets for this figure, but great to see that the helmets truly create different looks. We likely won't keep this helmet on the Ghost Viper as I can't get enough of the painted on skull, but I could see us using this for another figure at some point down the road. Just not sure which one yet, but the incredible detail is there and I'm confident this helmet will make an appearance again in the future. Out of these 2 helmets, I'd love to know which is your favorite and why. Let us know in the comments section. Another very cool accessory is this blast effect, which is really meant to represent a spectral induced skull coming at the Joes to instill fear in their minds and hearts. It's really quite detailed and perfectly designed, and surprisingly stays well connected to the projector weapon. There's this other small flame-like accessory that can be attached to the wrist guards, though I'm not really sure why. I kinda like the idea though of it being used as part of the comms tech that shows a readout up against a flame rather than by way of a digital readout. But we're not done yet, because we get two reused pets here, the first being a spectral version of Snake Eyes' wolf Timber. I don't have the original version of this mold, so I'm really happy we now have two in translucent green, and wow are they highly articulated. Lots of ways you can pose these wolves, with points of articulation at all parts of the legs and even the body, head, and tail. Both variations of the heads are seen here, one I think best suited for when the wolf is stalking or gazing at its target, while the other is meant for a beast on the attack. The Ghost Viper also comes with a second pet manifestation, which is based off of Serpentor Snake, so if you happen to miss that release, this is a nice way to get a version of that snake, great for displays. I don't know if it's something specific to these Ghost Vipers or I was just more inspired, but I was easily able to pose these guys in multiple ways that all looked incredible. By positioning the figure in this way, you can get a fairly accurate looking pose of a sniper preparing to look through his sight, probably my favorite pose of the bunch. I showed it from a few different angles in case any of you wanted to try to recreate this one. He also poses extremely well and looks amazing on his knee, as do most classified figures. Notice here how each of the two traditional weapons can be placed on his back by using a peg that sticks out of each gun, in case you prefer this more realistic military look. Also showing him from a few different angles here in case you'd like to replicate. As for walking, I didn't really have trouble setting them up this way, which is always a nice look for displays. It's usually easier to pose them walking because you can use the back foot for balance. But where I was really surprised was when I tried to pose him running, and I had absolutely no problem balancing him. Of course, you can always use stands to make your life easier, but I try to stay away from them if I can. Few different angles here as well. Another favorite of mine is having the werewolf version howling at the moon with his arms outstretched, brandishing his claws. You can't have him lean back too much without falling backwards, but you can get it enough to recreate this perfect look. And finally, I never tried this before, but you can crouch them down so that it looks like they're ready to go on the prowl, waiting for the order from Crystal Ball. As this is a completely new unique character, we'll focus this comparison on the Vipers themselves. And we'll start with the Cobra Viper Officer that came in a 3-pack with 2 other Vipers, and I'll explain why in the next section. For now, the main point is that they use different designs other than for the helmet. However, you wouldn't really notice that big a difference because really, the iconic part is in fact the helmet. We don't get the Viper backpack, which would have been a nice to have, but happy with the ability to attach the Ghost Viper weapons directly to their backs. The skull emblazoned helmet of the Ghost Viper definitely gives it a different feel, but otherwise you get the exact same design. The shape, additional goggles, all of it is exactly the same. Though a nice touch is that painted detail that you can see here, which I think looks actually quite nice even if only a small change. So where does the design from the Ghost Viper come from? Well, mostly from the Retro Viper, which we haven't opened yet. Though the arms are in fact the arms taken from the Techno Viper without the shoulder pads, but including the lower arms comms unit. The projector weapon, including hose, is taken directly from Barbecue, as is the backpack that they attach to. As we don't have a Timber who comes with some versions of Snake Eyes, I'll show how the Dire Wolf compares to Junkyard for scale. What amazes me with the classified pets is how detailed they are. The team really knocks it out of the park with these realistic looking animal designs. As for the snake, it's 100% a copy of Serpentor Snake, other than the color, and will likely keep R3 snakes displayed with Serpentor, though I haven't confirmed whether that will actually look good or not yet. Alright, let's get into it with a bunch of display and build ideas I came up with that I think really work great with the Ghost Vipers. Originally, I thought of pairing the Ghost Vipers with the Range Vipers given the skull motif, and I think they make a great looking unit. Once I added in the 788 Fireteam Range Viper though, I immediately realized that this version of the Range Viper is the way to go, as they both have a similar overall feel and color scheme that complement each other really well. This idea of them leading a patrol through an abandoned city street with 2 stingers slowly following them from behind looks incredible. Having the dire wolf stalking the streets with them as well just adds the perfect touch of dread and mystery. I also ultimately think these guys will look amazing with the Night Vipers once released, so we'll see once they are released if I'm right. I couldn't stop there though. If you're going to have some 788 Fireteam representation, you have to throw in the Cobra hiss for some major backup. You can almost hear the sound of the squeaky tank treads rolling as this team makes its way through the center of the street. I mean, if you have the room and vehicles, I totally think this is the way to go for a display for the Ghost Vipers, especially if you want them in their more military-based gear. But there are plenty of other ways to display these guys, even without a unit of Cobra vehicles for support. My favorite being as part of the 788 Fireteam. I feel they totally fit right in, with the added bonus of having the Twilight Guards for some extra support. I also included the Viper officer, who I feel works way better with the Ghost Vipers as perhaps a Ghost Viper officer rather than the base Vipers, given their similar look and color scheme. Even without all these figures, the Ghost Vipers can make for one mean and awesome looking display. They are that impressive. In this case, I'm using two of my favorite poses for these two, which I showed separately a bit earlier. If I don't give them the walking look as part of a unit, I will definitely pose the Ghost Vipers this way. They just look like such an impressive and deadly force posed this way, with their gray fatigues, weapons, and sculpt-based helmets. A bit closer look at the Cobra Viper officer here as part of the Ghost Viper unit. It might not be a perfect matchup, but I ultimately think it works the best as far as combining different Vipers together goes. What do you guys think? Can the Ghost Viper units benefit from a Viper officer? Let us know below. Of course, you can always combine all the Vipers together, and this looks kinda great as well. Though I did leave out the Python Vipers here since I like to keep those guys with their Python patrol units. Now let's move to the more sci-fi based Cobra display ideas using D.I.R.E tech equipment and accessories as a start. And I have to say, this might be my favorite display idea yet, especially if you want a very dynamic action-packed idea. I immediately thought of including the Ghost Vipers hanging on to the Stingers as soon as I activated their D.I.R.E technology. Can you imagine a group of Stingers driving in at high speed with these werewolf-like creatures hanging off the sides? Their claws brandished, mouths foaming, ready to jump on any Joe stragglers hidden among the streets. They're fairly easy to add on to the Stingers as well, just replicate this pose I'm showing here and have them hold on to the Stinger missiles with their claws. And voila, you have a nightmarish unit of Stingers for your collection. Have any other great ideas to share? I'd love to hear about how you guys have incorporated your Ghost Vipers. I added in Crystal Ball here since the Ghost Vipers are technically meant to support his hallucinogenic units. And I totally dig having Crystal Ball hanging off the side with his hypnosis-inducing shield, affecting the minds of all Joes in front of them. You can also add him hanging onto the top of the Stingers, mind controlling the enemy as they drive into battle with the missiles removed. While we're on the topic of the Cobra Stingers, I felt these guys would look really cool driving the Stinger itself with the regular Viper helmets on, using a stripped down Stinger, which I felt kinda made sense for these guys since they'd be using the Stinger more to get around than as drivers. Plus, the Stingers as a base model Jeep still looks amazing, though you can always add back in the missiles if you'd like. Like some of the earlier smaller display ideas I've already shown, it's very easy to create a cool looking display by using the pets the Ghost Vipers come with. In this case, I wanted to give the Ghost Vipers a more canine unit feel, and so like the police or military canine units do, I placed the dire wolf in between the Ghost Viper's legs, which I think looks amazing and a perfectly good option for displays. These wolves are also so emotive with their different heads and ways they can be posed, which can further be used perfectly with the hypnosis-induced Ghost Viper werewolves. Throw in Crystal Ball again, and you have a nice little action shot you can create and expand on. I don't think I'll keep the Ghost Vipers with Crystal Ball in the end, as I like the non-spectral version of the Ghost Vipers the best, and I plan on keeping Crystal Ball with the Dreadnoks for now. But if we ever decide to switch it up, this is a totally fun way to go for a display, using Cthulhu Crystal Ball, the multiple spectral heads, and some snakes for a truly terrifying setup. And finally, why not throw into the mix a Joe caught in the hypnotic horror of Crystal Ball and his unit of Ghost Vipers. Slick looking packaging for sure, these bigger window display based packages always look better than the smaller ones. Love this side art even if it's using the alternate helmet. Lit up like this actually looks like it'd be pretty scary to walk up on one of these guys in the wild. The back has a nice diorama of the full spectral manifestation of the Ghost Viper in the back alleys of a city, which is a perfect place for them to lurk in. So that's it for this week's spotlight on the Cobra Ghost Vipers. We're heading into the holidays, which means the HasLab Cobra Rattler review is almost upon us. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss that huge review, which will be coming up in a few weeks. Wishing you all happy holidays. And remember, it's all such heroic nonsense in the end.
Transform!